What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, and I'm here to bring you my review of House of Cards Season 5. So, before we get into this review, guys, I just want you all to know that, of course, this season is 13 hours. I'm going to miss a few details, a few plot points, or forget to mention characters. So with that being said, I'm just giving my overall thoughts about this season with spoilers included, because there's no real way to talk about this and have a coherent conversation without spoilers. So if there's anything you guys really want to discuss about this season, don't forget to add it down there in the comment sections down below so we can keep having a discussion about this show past just this review itself. So with that being said, let's talk about House of Cards Season 5. So House of Cards Season 4 left us off with Claire and Frank teaming up, saying that they are going to bring the Terror as running mates, and that they really want to switch things up against Joel Kinnaman's character, whose name is escaping me right now, but he's pretty awesome. And so that's the lead up going into this season, and of course Tom Hammerschmidt is out there. I don't know why Tom Hammerschmidt is just it's a fun name to say. This season had a lot to live up to. There was a lot of characters and a lot of plot points in motion and in play, and a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity for our characters at hand and all the supporting characters as well. I can definitely say that when I was getting close to finishing the series, I was getting through about the halfway point, I was just like, this is definitely going to be the most divisive episode yet of House of Cards. I mean, season yet of House of Cards. I really think that this is really going to either make it or break it for a lot of fans, and a lot of people will either want to know, okay, is this next season the last season? If not, I'm going to be off the bandwagon until then, because I think with the switching of the showrunners came a switching of the vision, and I think whoever was running the show for this season, I know the original showrunner for the first 4 seasons left after that one, after the 4th one. I think the new direction this show is taking is not something I am not too keen on or don't know really how to feel about, because it honestly feels directionless. I feel like there wasn't a clear goal in mind of what we were building towards this entire season. It's not that I was bored or that I hated it. There's a lot of really great moments in this season that will truly stay memorable throughout the pantheon of awesome stuff that happens in this show. Great moments of treachery, great monologues, you know, those Shakespearean elements that we've come to know and love about House of Cards. There's a lot of things I really enjoy about this season. I'm just somewhere in between, and a lot of it came from just watching a story that was bogged down by plot lines that weren't really as engaging as they thought they were, such as Claire's relationship with Tim and how that ended up playing out, and also the relationships with Aiden and the whole entire hacking controversy, and the second half of the election process just really kind of muddled its way along without any clear direction, and a lot of treachery and betrayal that seemingly came from nowhere but was planned all along, that it was a plot twist that I'm not quite sure really pans out for me. I enjoy that House of Cards is a show that we watch it and we know for the most part that our anti-heroes are going to get away with it. That's part of the thrill and the tragedy and the danger and excitement of watching House of Cards, is imagining that, wow, this could be going on right now in Capitol Hill as we know it, and that these characters are actually just a dark reflection of historical figures of our past and possibly our present. And yeah, a lot of our present. And I love that about the show, but I feel like this season was very contained and very stagnant. I feel like it focused very heavily on the first half with the election, and that was something I was really engaged in. I really enjoyed Joel Kinnaman's portrayal of Conway and his family. I just thought he was such an engaging character, and I really enjoyed every single time he was on screen. And man, Joel Kinnaman needs to be a household name, and he needs to get more roles, because that dude is just charming as can be. I was like, I would have voted for Conway. What can I say? He's so darn charming. What are you gonna do? But with that being said, I feel like his character ended up being sidelined once he was revealed he had anger issues, and then it just seemed like the well beneath his feet was drying up and he was losing support in a way that felt very contrived. I really felt like it was very forced in the sense of like, all right, we gotta push Conway out and we gotta introduce the real conflict of this season, which is gonna be Usher and Kate, I believe her name, or Jane. Jane. You know who I'm talking about. There's gonna be a picture of this lady's face, who I'm talking about, who you know from this season, who's doing bad stuff. Anyways, so yeah, those characters, you know, really taking the forefront, weren't as engaging for me, because it's just so obvious of like, you're not supposed to trust these people, but yet they're putting themselves, the Underwoods are putting themselves in positions where they have to, but not necessarily really have to. A lot of characters making bold claims that they're the ones who can, you know, really help the Underwoods out and really can make a difference. But at the same time, are they? Look how much Frank has got done by himself, but maybe that's just the problem, that Frank always relies on just himself. And that has built that rift in between him and Claire. I think it's really interesting concepts that aren't really fully explored, and I think it has to do with the situations that they're in. That goes back to the concept of what I was saying about the show feeling very contained and stagnant. I feel like even if you look at the locations for a show with a massive budget, I feel like it's very contained in what it does, and it doesn't this season really didn't spend that much time exploring different situations and concepts. So like we had the issue with the truck and the chemicals and things of that nature, and Ahmed, I don't know, the terrorist from Ico, which sounds like some sort of like convenience store, but like we gotta go to the Ico up the street, but it just felt like the season was relying very heavily of just staying in the White House and never expanding the story. I think when we had the elements of Russia being introduced and we had the elements of the conflicts in the Middle East, I really feel like those deserve to be explored more. And as much as they were pushed very prevalent in the first half of the season and then sidelined to the second half and then towards the end of the season to just be set up for the sixth season, was very, very unfortunate. Because that's what it just felt like a lot for me, was just this pit stop. This episode, this season just felt like a pit stop of us getting to a station and then saying our destination is actually here next season. Our destination is actually Claire being president and her going to war with Frank, which was already set up in the last season, but we're just gonna not set it up this season and then just randomly set it up towards the end, even though it was hinted at. You know, there's a lot of foreshadowing. Like literally by the second episode, I was like, oh, they're gonna make Claire the president, and then Frank's gonna be outed, and he's gonna be mad about that. So things were very obvious, and things felt very forced and contrived, and I was questioning where Frank was going with his idea of leaking everything to the press. And of course, they create their explanations. I understand the explanations behind it, but in my heart, did I really believe it? That this would really be the direction that these characters would take. And I understand willing to do anything necessary to win, even if that means losing. I think that's an interesting concept, but at the same time, I feel like its execution is a bit to say the least. I really did enjoy Frank this season, which is nice, but I do have to say I probably enjoyed Claire even more. I do like this idea of Claire coming into her own. I just wish it would have happened sooner. And I just really wish that flag, that division between them was stuck in the ground even more, and that wedge was truly created. And I love the divide that was created visually and now emotionally between them. And I just want that to continue, because I loved that concept before of when she left. And it was this battle between the Underwoods and how those two can do more damage to each other than anyone could have ever imagined, and that those two can do more damage to other people as well while they wage their war. I find that to be a really engaging and really interesting concept. But with that being said, moving forward, I just hope more seasons or next season would hopefully be the last. I feel like we're really stretching things out with what these guys can get away with, what they've done. The bodies are piling up, the charges are piling up, the amount of extreme things they're getting away with and pardoned for and excluded from and investigated from is just, it's getting very far-fetched and almost kind of like a parody of itself. Like, ooh, here's this impossible situation, now let's get out of it. Kind of like that thing that Sherlock has gotten itself into towards the later seasons. I enjoyed the show. I still enjoy the show. I didn't feel bored bored, which I feel like a lot of people are going to end up saying about this season, I had never felt bored with this season. I was always engaged, but I think that just came from me loving the characters so darn much. I love these characters, the way they're written, they're so complex and very well done, even though they make stupid decisions that are obviously forced by writers themselves and don't feel it generally coming from what the characters would make based off how these characters have acted for these past few seasons. I'm just mostly looking at you, Doug. I'm really looking at you, homie. What happened, bro? What happened this season, man? Please tell me, who hurt you? Who hurt you, Doug? Got you feeling all emotionally conflicted, and that's, well, really everybody hurt him. But that being said, guys, I really enjoyed these characters, and I enjoyed a lot of moments coming out of it, and I love that they're really going for this Macbeth theme with it, and that these characters slowly losing their minds and getting more into bloodshed and doing whatever it takes to keep up their empire and not lose that. I really enjoyed that. I just hope that they're able to rein it in and get more focus, expand the story and increase the stakes, and not have things be so contained. I think by the time the election was extended and Conway was ousted, became ousted and all that stuff from the election itself, I really felt things waning with where the story was going. But I wasn't bored, wasn't sad about anything, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, criticism isn't a bad thing, and I think they do need to take a step back and analyze where they really were going with the season and where they really do plan to go. With that being said, guys, I think that really concludes my thoughts on this season. I would probably give this season of House of Cards a 7 out of 10. It's a solid season. It really is. I mean, it's incredible acting, incredible directing, especially by Robin Wright. She does some extraordinary camera work, and I really want to look forward to whatever she can do outside of just House of Cards, because she is so elegant with the way that she controls the camera and its movements. It's just an extension of how her character comes off, honestly. I think she really is a terrific director and really should take up more projects outside of House of Cards, even though this is a great place for her to really, you know, grind her teeth on and really put some edge and put some layers onto her own directing style. But I think she's gonna be a name to look out for whenever this series ends or in between shoots. I think she's doing something really great on House of Cards with just her direction alone, and of course her phenomenal acting. With that being said, guys, let me know what you think about this season in the comment sections down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere in between? Which is okay, because that's where I am. There's some things I liked, there's some things I didn't like. Overall, I'm questioning this entire season, but overall, it was a good time. I didn't feel like my time was wasted, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know if I could recommend this season to other people. I feel I'd have to say, hey, if you really are engaged in these characters as I am, then go for it. If not, then don't go for this season, because I feel like you might just need to wait and not try to get so invested in it or try to burn through it, possibly. But let me know what you think about this in the comment sections down below. And if you liked my review, guys, don't forget to hit that like button down there. And if you're new here, maybe subscribe. We really would appreciate it. But with that being said, guys, this isn't just a review, this is also a discussion. So I really, really want to hear your thoughts. Let's get engaged in the comment sections down below. Not like in marriage, but as in thrilling, enthralling, in adjective verb conversation. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.